Another thing to keep in mind when you're writing a net ionic equation is that you don't want to include spectator ions in your net ionic equations, those species that do not change during the course of the reaction. So, for example, if you mix some sodium chloride, some silver nitrate together, it does form a precipitate silver chloride, but the sodium ions, the nitrate ions, they're in there. They're in the beaker where the chemicals might be being mixed, but we don't show them in the balanced or in the net ionic equation because they're spectators. Just like a spectator to a sporting event sits on the side and doesn't participate in the reaction, we don't show them in the balanced equation, the balanced net ionic equation, because they're not doing anything. Just a little note about scoring for the AP exam. It's worth trying, even writing the chemical formulas for the reactants. Even if you can't figure out what the products would be, you might get some partial credit. So the first kind of reaction that you're going to be looking for is where you're looking to combine two elements together. So this is called a synthesis reaction. Sometimes they call it a combination reaction. You might hear it called. If you're reacting a substance with oxygen, sometimes they call those guys combustion reactions as well. Combustion's basically a special type of synthesis reaction. So there's only one thing you can do with uncombined elements. It's combine them. So you just have to put them together, make sure that when you put those elements together, that your substance has a sensible oxidation state. If it's a ionic compound, that you have a sensible charge. So an example here, they give a few examples of burning something in air, burning something in oxygen, and you can see where we're just combining hydrogen and oxygen together, making a compound out of them. You take sulfur, oxygen, put them together, making a compound out of them. Couple more examples. So here's one. If we wanted to take a piece of barium and we were to add that to some oxygen, oxygen's a Hofbrinkel, so we'd write O2. Our barium and oxide would come together. Barium's +2 in ion form. Oxygen's -2 in ion form. So +2 -2, we would just write BaO, and then we'd have to balance the reaction overall. If you took some solid magnesium, heated that in some nitrogen gas, we just have to combine those two elements together. Magnesium is +2 when it forms ions. Nitride is -3 when it forms ions. So when you combine +2 -3, we would need 3 magnesium ions, 2 nitride ions, and then to balance overall, a 3 in the front.